that I can do more. Wish that I could shield you from the cold and the rain, keep you always laughing, free of sorrow and pain, hide you deep in your nest, but I know it's in vain. Baby, you'll understand when you're 4. This is a wish for Michael. May you stay warm and kind. Keep on reaching out for answers with groping fingers of your mind. May you never finish learning and wondering why a little kitten always lands on its feet, why the streetlights glisten in the rain on the street, why in lands far away they have nothing to eat, and why soldiers are sent off to die. This is a hope for Michael. We'll build a world that's new. Hopes are sometimes pretty futile, but we can help them to come true. So we who still hope are trying to let people know we have reached the moon and left our prints in its dust. It's an age of marvels and we have to adjust. We can leap to the stars, but before that we must make a world where a boy can just grow. We can leap to the stars, but before that we must make a world where a boy can just grow. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to your neighborhood Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Suzanne. I'm the music director here, and I'm in my office this morning at 310 Danforth, and I have your announcements. First thing, I didn't see it in the chat. The song that you heard as the gathering music today was a song for Michael by Vera Johnson. She was a contemporary of Malvina Reynolds and Pete Seeger. Here comes your announcements. Ongoing at Neighborhood, the COVID-19 app. Protect yourself and others by downloading the app. It protects your privacy and health. Wednesday, December 2nd, we start conscious movement classes with Phyllis Danu. That's a morning class from 10:15 to 11:30. You can contact her at phyllisdanu@gmail.com to register. Wednesday evenings from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. we have a weekly meditation on Zoom and I believe in person, a hybrid meditation here in our beautiful new sanctuary with Rev Wayne and Jillian. That's for beginners and intermediates. Sandwich Sisters has become Club Sandwich, and on Wednesdays and Thursdays are accepting donations of sandwiches that you make for local folks that are hungry. Those can be dropped off at MCC, which is at Simpson and Logan area, on Wednesdays or Thursdays before noon. The child caregiver program is temporarily suspended, but Zach is here today in the courtyard leading songs with families from the DMC. And the Buy a Tree program has not started yet, but soon will, that you can buy a Christmas tree just outside our building on Jackman, and purchases of those trees support the Out of the Cold program. As you saw last week, our AV equipment is up and running, and we're looking for helpers that have an affinity or curiosity for electronics to help us run it. Please contact Fred, and he'll put your name on the list to keep you up to date on when training sessions will be happening. Thanks, Fred. OWL, Our Whole Lives. The Unitarian Congregation of Mississauga is running the OWL program this year for youth in 7th to 9th grades. If you have a youngster who might be interested in this, please join us at the Parent Guardian Group meeting, which is happening today from 2 to 4 p.m. in Mississauga at their congregation. You can contact Kathleen Sorensen for more info. Calling all painters. We have a few small painting projects here in our building that need a couple of people to help out for a few hours. Please contact Fred if you're willing to give a little bit of time to help paint at 416-627-9666. Morning chant is happening 2 weeks from today on the 28th from 9:30 to 10:15 a.m. It's easy to learn multi-faith songs and chants led by Fred, Phyllis, and myself. That happens here in our regular Zoom space in a breakout room before service. All are welcome. Neighborhood Gallery presents Chris Emanuel's Love is Love series. It opened on the 11th of October and is running till the 15th of December. If you would like to come see the exhibition, call our office so that you can arrange for a visit. COVID screening is in effect to come into the building. And now, a special announcement from John Whitehead.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. And there's 6 more days to go until our silent auction is complete. So we would like to encourage everyone to come join us next Saturday night at 7 o'clock for 1 hour from 7 till 8. And that's when the auction closes. And please check out our 21 and 21 website. We'll have close to 150 items. There's still items going up. I wanted to show you one item. This is from Trinity Gallery on Kingston Road, a attractive pair of gloves and a scarf, a beautiful scarf. And market value of $35. You can get it for a lot less. It's a great deal, and there's lots of other great deals there as well. So please check it out, and please put your bids in. Thank you.
Thanks, John. And you'll see that the link to our auction has been posted in the chat. The Active Hope book group is starting this week. Join Natalie and Bruce on the 7-session group journey to read Active Hope by Joanna Macy and Chris Johnstone starting this Thursday at 7:30. If you haven't signed up yet, details and registration information will be in our Monday email. This week's question to the community. Can you continue a conversation when someone disagrees with you? Ponder this. Our Reverend hopes you'll be willing to share when the time comes in the service. The Neighborhood Nominating Committee is actively recruiting for our next Board of Directors to be voted on at our special meeting held on November 28th after service. We're looking for 3 new members, with one of those to be our secretary, for just a 5-month period until our AGM in April. You will have the potential for an extension to a 2-year term if that's what you would like. This is a pivotal time in the life of our congregation, and we hope you might join our strong and wise board members. Don't hesitate. If you've never been on a board, there's a lot of expertise around the table to learn from and to contribute to. So contact either Doug or Dina for more information or to express your interest. And next Sunday, our theme is Sanctuary from the Cold. We have 2 guests. Guest Reverend Daniel Weber will be providing our message of inspiration, and Guelph UU musician Jane Lewis will be providing the music.
Welcome back to Zoom for our Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Congregation service. We welcome you back here as we change between services in person and services online. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Peter Marmrek, and I'll be your virtual service weaver this morning from my home. Our musical director, Suzanne Mazars, and our minister, the Reverend Wayne Walder, are in our sanctuary at 310 Danforth. Z. Getchell facilitates our Sunday Child and Caregiver program and will share a video with us today. We also have Mike Kozowski, who keeps all these many balls in the air doing the Zoom web hosting duties. And we are deeply grateful to all of these people. By now, we're all pretty familiar with Zoom etiquette. Stay muted. Chat will have our lyrics and readings. And don't send chat messages to everyone unless it's really vital. Hey, Peter, you're frozen. That sort of thing. Closed captioning is available. You can click at the bottom of your screen to start or stop it. You can move the border between the person in the spotlight and everyone else, so you can see more of the gallery when you want. This service is being recorded for the public, both on YouTube and on our new website. Joys and concerns, similar personal moments will be edited out. If you're concerned about your privacy, you can turn off your camera so no one will see you, and you can rename yourself so no one will know what that blank space is. Now we have nowhere else to go. We have nothing else to do. Please turn off anything that might distract you and be present. This is the threshold moment when we enter sacred space together. As we light our chalice, you may want to light your chalice. But either way, join our choir as we sing.
We light this chalice to remember, to light the fire within our own hearts.
And now for our prelude. Suzanne, would you like to introduce this?
I would like to. Thank you, Peter. Our prelude this morning is a piece performed by Shilpa Sharma, a longtime friend of Neighborhood, and myself that we recorded in isolation earlier in the pandemic. Our topic today is safe space, and this song is about finding safe space in the arms of your loved one. It comes from the height of the European Romantic period, mid-1800s. The video for this song is a video of the notated sheet music rolling by, and some of you might appreciate that, and some of you might find that distracting to the music. So I thought what I'd do is just read to you a translation of the poem so you know what you're listening to, and you can choose to follow the score or perhaps just listen to the song with your eyes closed. It's called Chanson Triste, Sad Song. It tells the story of a man who's sick and finding healing in the arms of his beloved. Moonlight slumbers in your heart, a gentle summer moonlight, and to escape the cares of life, I shall drown myself in your light. I shall forget past sorrows, my sweet, when you cradle my sad heart and my thoughts in the loving calm of your arms. You will rest my poor head, sometimes on your lap, and recite to it a ballad that will seem to speak of us. And from your eyes full of sorrow, from your eyes I shall then drink so many kisses and so much love that perhaps I shall be healed. Joy chanson triste.
Good morning and welcome. If you're visiting us for the first time or one of the first times, we welcome you. After the service, please stay around, either to join a breakout room or to talk to our minister with questions you might have about who we are and what we do here. Our mission at Neighborhood is to empower spiritual growth and shared action for the care of the world. Our theme for November is Coming Home, and today's theme is Safe Space. Today, almost all of us join this service from our own homes. We know these homes to be on the traditional land and territory of the Wendat, the Anishinaabe, the Mississauga, and the Haudenosaunee nations. Today, these nations and the Métis and Inuit peoples continue to be here. This week, a search for the remains of children's bodies was begun at Brantford Residential School, which many of us visited virtually just 2 months ago. As we talk today about making a safe space for ourselves, let us remember just how unsafe a space Canadian governments made for Indigenous peoples. We must do better. None of us has been in a safe space for the past 20 months. An invisible killer has been stalking us, masquerading as our friends, as our food, as the air we breathe. We've hidden in our houses, separated from each other, crawled into our tiny personal bubbles, and held on as best we could. Is it safe to come out now? Is the cure safer than the disease? We've heard different answers from different people, and that makes us feel even less secure. Some hide their fear behind a cloak of absolute certainty about their answers. Being absolutely sure is, I believe, a sign of danger. I thought I was pretty well protected during the pandemic, going for walks by myself in remote parks till a moment of absent-mindedness and a partly torn Achilles tendon gave me a crash course in ableism and just how unsafe this world is, even to the temporarily enabled people amongst whom I used to number myself. Now parts of my house are unsafe, and other parts are inaccessible. I know it's a struggle for all of us to find safety. We all want it. We repeat that aspiration every week, as we will in a few minutes. Let us cast the circle of a sacred space here. Let us cast the circle of a cherished space here, a space of safety. Our congregation is a sacred space. And as some of us came back together last week in person, it was clear how much of a cherished space it is. But what makes it a place of safety? We've just passed our 8th principle, which calls on us to take individual and communal action that accountably dismantles racism and systemic barriers in ourselves. How do we change ourselves safely? We're all human, I believe, and therefore we're all fallible, all imperfect, and all flawed. So how do you point out my flaws without leaving me feeling attacked? But if you don't point them out, how do I see them? It's not easy. Growth is almost always painful, and pain makes us feel unsafe. When Moira and I facilitated the Truth, Healing, and Reconciliation course on Indigenous people's history with Canada, we came up with a covenant that tried to make that very fraught topic a bit safer for us all. We agreed in the covenant to assume best intentions. People are doing their best. We agreed we would take responsibility when we said things that hurt other people, as we did, as we all will. We agreed that when we did hurt someone, we needed to take part in processing that. We agreed to listen to the other person and their stories. And we agreed to speak about our own lives, not to generalize. And it worked. I worked for 15 years in a Jewish group called Tikkun Toronto. Some of us were more Ish than Jew. We were trying to create safe dialogue between Muslims and Jews about Israel and Palestine. The only thing we did that really worked was stories. Our group all wrote our own stories along the lines of, when I was young, I felt this way about Israel. Then these things happened to me, and I now feel this way. Then we'd meet with groups of people, Muslim, Jewish combinations, And we would tell our stories and then listen to them tell their stories. And then we talk. And it worked. We didn't try and tell the truth about Israel and Palestine. We told our stories. It's not easy. I know when I was a teacher, I sometimes knew I had to make amends for having hurt a student by some casual comment I'd made in the classroom or on an essay. That wasn't easy, but it was part of the deal. If I wanted them to respect me, I had to show that I respected them by taking responsibility for what I'd said. Doing that made my classroom a safer space. As you probably know from your own experience, teachers who are sure they're always right are insufferable, both to other teachers and to their students. We will never make neighborhood absolutely safe for everyone all the time. But if we share our stories, assume best intentions, and take responsibility for what we say, I believe we can take steps, halting steps, stumbling steps, in my case, hopping steps, towards making it safer. I leave you for a scriptural reading this week with the words of Rabbi Sheila Peltz on her visit to Auschwitz concentration camp. As I stood before the gates, I realized I never want to be as certain about anything as were the people who built this place. Traditionally at this time, we ask you to turn to your neighbor and greet them. Now, briefly unmute your device, switch to gallery view, and offer a greeting to those around you. We'll sound a chime to end. Please.
Morning,
Good
everybody.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Nice to see you.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, Deb.
Morning, everyone.
Deirdre.
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Hey,
John.
Suzanne.
Good morning from Labrador.
Sigrid.
Hey, Alan.
Tony, Helen.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
Tina,
Morning,
Deb.
Lauren and Dave.
Good work.
Eileen.
Rebecca.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi,
David.
Hi there. Hi, Kim and Dave.
Hi,
Diane.
Alan.
Hello.
Hi, Juliana.
Deb.
Newton.
Barbara.
Hi,
Hi,
Tony.
Allison.
Hi, Sean.
Morning.
All right.
Hi, Helen.
Here comes the ding dong.
Now I invite you to join me in reading our opening words, which will appear on your screen. If you don't know the words and are unable to see them, just listen to my reading. Let us cast the circle of a sacred space here. Let us cast the circle of a cherished space here. A space of safety, a place of forgiveness, a place of love. If we want the world to change, we must craft in our space and in ourselves the seeds that grow a different kind of life. A life of graciousness, of creative intelligence, a place of life and spirit for ourselves and our families. And I believe Wayne now has a question for the community.
I do. I'm wondering if you have a time or a practice or a thought that you can share with us that helps you when you have a difficult conversation with someone, when it's difficult for you to stay in conversation because you know that someone disagrees with you. Sometimes Joan, my partner, and I, we have a really strong disagreement. And what we do, though, is because we know the relationship is more important than the idea, which sometimes we forget within a day. We'll always be looking at each other to make sure we haven't gone a little too far. We haven't said something a little too rough. We haven't in some way burned a bridge that we can't return to. How about you? I can only do this with two or three people or so, and I'm trying to move it around so everyone gets a chance. This will be the same discussion question that we use in the breakout rooms. How do you stay in a conversation, a relationship, when you know someone's going to disagree with you?
We have Doug.
Doug?
Good morning. Thank you. The summer before last, myself and two sets of neighbors did some major renos in our backyard, and our contractor disappeared. He went AWOL, and I got really mad. And I set the intention of not speaking with him until I was no longer angry. And I mean, this is a real good turnout result, I should say. Yet, when I was no longer angry, I picked up the phone and I called him, and I simply said, "Any idea when you're going to come back?" He said, "I'll be there within the hour," and he was.
Thanks, Doug. Taking a minute to just recenter. Great idea. Mike, I can't see anyone's.
Lauren and Dave just popped up.
Lauren and Dave?
Yeah, hi guys. My first day of university, I bumped into I was pretty left wing, and I bumped the guy sitting beside me in my first class was a commerce student named Alex Jones. And after class, we started talking, and we started debating and arguing. And at some point, we looked up and realized it was dark because we had been standing toe to toe and debating for 6 hours. And Alex basically said to me, "You realize at this point, we're either going to become best friends or enemies." And I stuck my hand out, and I shook his hand. It's critically important to talk and interact with people you disagree with. That's how we get smarter.
Thanks, Dave.
We have Michael Abraham.
Okay, thank you. I'm a great believer of freedom of speech in Canada. So when I disagree with someone, I state my opinion very clearly, but I also listen to that person. And I give that person the equal time to agree or disagree with me. For example, Michael Poliani, he knows that in many ways we disagree with each other, but I respect his opinion. So
Thank you, Michael.
I listen to him.
Listening is great. So thank you all very much for sharing today.
Now, as we hold this place open to grace and insight, please join Suzanne for our opening song. Suzanne?
Hello again, everyone. I encourage you to switch back to gallery view so that together we can sing Come, Come, Whoever You Are. Though we've broken our vows 1,000 times, this is a place where you can come again. Sing for each other.
Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've come, whoever you are, you wanderer, worshiper, lover of the evening, crosses no caravan of despair. You come yet again, come. Come yet again, come. Sometimes though you times.
Now, all the young and young at heart, please come up and get close to the screen because Z has something to share with you. Z?
Good morning, everyone. Sorry I can't be with you live today, but I'm in our courtyard with some families from the Danforth Multi-Faith Commons working on a collaborative project. It's pretty exciting, and I can't wait to share more about it with you. Unfortunately, that's not what I'm here to talk about today. Today, we're going to be talking about safe space. So what is a safe space? I think a safe space is a place where you can feel comfortable to be yourself wholly, without being afraid of being hurt by someone. Which sounds, to me, like a very hard thing to find or to make, because we're all people who make mistakes, and sadly, it's really easy to hurt somebody by accident. I know I've accidentally hurt people by saying things that I didn't mean to hurt, but that hurt someone in a way that I didn't understand. And I've also been accidentally hurt in the same way. So what do we do when we've been accidentally hurt like this? Because Peter made an excellent point that it's very hard to feel safe when you're feeling pain. So how do we get from that place of feeling pain and feeling unsafe to a place where we can come back to the conversation? Now, sometimes we need to be alone to do that. Sometimes we need to fortify. I've been making forts when I feel unsafe since I was little. I used to make them out of chairs. I'd put them in front of each other and drape blankets over top of them, and then I'd lie underneath the chairs, and that would be my fort. A dark, private, safe space where I could sort through my pain and my complicated feelings, which seemed much better than the other option I was given as a kid. See, when I was younger and feeling pain, we kids were often told that we needed to toughen up, let it just roll off your shoulders and not bother you. That never made sense to me. It made it seem like if you just got stronger, you wouldn't be able to be hurt by feelings anymore. Well, I got plenty strong enough to move boulders all by myself, and I can still very much feel the pain of my own feelings. I prefer fortifying, building forts, these places where I can feel my feelings safely and sort through my thoughts and come back to the conversation. It's important to be able to do that so we don't react in our pain and lash out, because that only adds pain on top of pain and makes the space even less safe. So build forts, fortify your life. Build these spaces where you can be you and feel all the things you need to feel. Build them under tables and in closets. Build them from blankets and sheets and boxes. With enough practice, you'll be able to carry the safety of your forts around in your mind with you. And then eventually, you'll be able to share that safety with the people around you who need it. We may not be able to make an absolutely perfectly safe space, but in this way, we can start making all our spaces a little bit safer. Thank you for listening.
I used to build forts and hide in them when I was a kid too. I'll have to talk to Z about fort building strategies, and we'll share them with the congregation as we work them out. This is a special time in our service when we invite you to share a joy or a concern in your life. In that case, I light a final candle for all the joys and concerns that we all have that remain unspoken in our hearts. And now I ask our minister, Wayne, to lead us in meditation. Wayne?
Wonder if we can all just find a way to sit quietly. I'm going to play the flute and hopefully it works. And maybe what we can do is we can rest in the sound of that instrument and rest in a way that makes us feel we're being held. that we're safe, that we're okay just as we are. It's not often that we feel safe, so safe, but it's there for us. And part of it is in the way that we see the world, feel the world. You know, we Unitarians, we continually try to do a difficult thing. We try to welcome in our conversations and in our congregations different points of view. I can honestly say and believe that we value a range of perspectives, and our history is filled with divergent ideas and concepts and opinions going back more than 400 years. We were kicked out of the Council of Christian Churches in 1912 because we were bringing in scriptures from Islam and Judaism and Buddhism and Hinduism as early as 1860. We were bringing gurus from India to our congregation in 1890. We were the first denomination to ordain a woman and 50 years later, a gay man. We often bring varied ideas and opinions to our gatherings. We expect that when we bring these divergent and sometimes contrary opinions and ideas, we can respectfully discuss them. I guess we would call this place for discussing divergent ideas and opinions respectfully a safe space. In a safe space, we can comfortably question each other while being heard and respected ourselves. We want to be able to disagree and be taken seriously for disagreeing, just as we hope to be taken seriously for ideas and opinions everyone agrees with. And we know, because we're adults, we know, because we have tried this in our own families and with friends, we know that a perfectly safe space is impossible. It is impossible because we are human and we make mistakes. After you've broken your vows 1,000 times, sometimes we believe our ideas are more important than the relationships that they need and that they're sometimes based on. What I mean is that it's easy to forget that we can hurt someone and how hard it is to restore relationships once we've hurt someone. What feels like a good discussion for one person can feel like an insult to another. We all get angry, we all get frustrated, we all get hurt, and we all feel marginalized at times. Every person. And these feelings cannot be overlooked because hurt hurts. If we could place a filter, a barrier, let nothing evil inside these doors, we might feel safe among ourselves. The problem is we are both the safe and the unsafe people. We are the ones who feel betrayed and who get angry and who don't want to apologize. We are the ones who react by running away, fighting, or freezing. Probably we can agree it's not possible to create perfectly safe spaces. In large public groups, the best we can do is try to create safer spaces. We can help create safer spaces. Now, having said this, I believe we can all agree on a few things. If someone lashes out and then runs away, a hit and run kind of thing, I bet we can all agree it's not okay. We have to be careful not to label someone. And there are a lot of labels being thrown around in the culture and in our denomination these days. If we label someone a racist or a sexist or a colonizer or homophobic, these can be hit and run words. It's my feeling that we should never hit and run. We can do better. Lashing out at anyone doesn't foster safer spaces. Secrets are like this as well. When there are secrets kept by some people and not others, some of us know and some of us do not, it makes us feel we're not wanted. Secrets are no way to create safer spaces. We can do better. Even confidentiality, which can be used appropriately, can also be used to make us feel like we're not part of the group. Have you ever heard someone say, I can't tell you that because it's confidential? I don't know how you feel when that happens, but I feel like someone doesn't really trust me. I'm being excluded. Why did they even bring it up if they didn't want to say anything about it? We have to be careful of hitting and running. We have to be careful of labeling each other. We have to be careful of keeping secrets and employing inappropriate confidentiality, because these don't help us create safer spaces. And I hope we can learn how to create safer spaces. Even when we're having a good discussion, we need to be careful, because sometimes a strange thing happens when we don't agree with each other. A colleague once told me about a group where a woman raised her hand and said, "I am not feeling heard," in a strident voice. My lovely colleague, she had the grace to say, "The gentleman who just spoke seemed to hear and understand your point very well. Could it be that you're simply not being agreed with?" When no one agrees with us, we can feel marginalized, not part of the group. And we all want to be agreed with, even though people disagree with us often. And it's okay for someone to disagree with us if they do it respectfully. When we disagree and we don't run away, when we stay in the conversation, that's one of the ways we build safer spaces. Because it takes extraordinary respect to stay connected to another when we disagree. It takes courage to enter in a conversation where people might not agree with us. It takes bravery and a little strength. Van Jones, who worked in the Obama administration, has taken on safe spaces as one of his thoughtful conversations, and I wanted you to hear him. He's worked in communications and is a liberal US Democrat. He's speaking how we need strength and skill to help create spaces, safe spaces, on university campuses, but our congregations are similar. It's a 3-minute clip. I wonder, Mike, if you can play it.
There are two ideas about safe spaces. One is a very good idea and one is a terrible idea. The idea of being physically safe on a campus, not being subjected to sexual harassment and physical abuse or something like that, or being targeted specifically personally for some kind of hate speech, you are an N-word or whatever, hey, perfectly fine with that. Perfectly fine with that. But there's another view that is now, I think, ascendant, which I think is just a horrible view, which is that I need to be safe ideologically. I need to be safe emotionally. I just need to feel good all the time. And if someone says something that I don't like, that is a problem for everybody else, including the administration. And I think that is a terrible idea for the following reason. I don't want you to be safe ideologically. I don't want you to be safe emotionally. I want you to be strong. That's different. I'm not going to pave the jungle for you. Put on some boots and learn how to deal with adversity. I'm not going to take all the weights out of the gym. That's the whole point of the gym. This is the gym. You can't live on a campus where people say stuff you don't like, and these people can't fire you. They can't arrest you. They can't beat you up. They can just say stuff you don't like, and you get to say stuff back. And this you cannot bear. This is ridiculous BS liberals. My parents and Monica Elizabeth Peake's parents, hello Monica, were marched. They dealt with fire hoses. They dealt with dogs. They dealt with beatings. You can't deal with a mean tweet? You are creating a kind of liberalism that the minute it crosses the street into the real world is not just useless, but obnoxious. and dangerous. I want you to be offended every single day on this campus. I want you to be deeply aggrieved and offended and upset, and then to learn how to speak back. Because that's what we need from you in these communities.
You know, Professor Stuart Shankar from York University and Stanley Greenspan, they both did research that might help us figure out a way to handle this problem of creating safer spaces. They learned that our species developed language to express and convey emotions and feelings. Language did not arise to express opinions and esoteric thoughts. Speech likely emerged because caregivers sought to communicate with infants and loved ones who wanted to convey their most intimate feelings. What this means now is when we meet, you and I, when we connect, we're looking for affection. We're looking for acceptance. We want to be heard. That's why we do a check-in. It's not a time waster. It's a way for us to say to each other, I respect you and I can prove it by listening to you. I can prove I respect you by enjoying you and your story. This gives us a little emotional capital. So if we disagree later in our meeting, we can remember that we're respected and our disagreement doesn't have to endanger the relationship. Shankar and Greenspan's research is important because we want to connect with each other. Music and spirit and care of others and ideas, these are all secondary. We come for the connection with each other, hoping that in the connection, we can feel the music more deeply, feel the spirit more easily, and have the energy together to care for the world. There's a huge incentive for us to keep our relationships respectful so we can use them to sing and commiserate and care for others with. Last week before Sunday services, there were smiles and hugs and givings and listenings and coffee. People hung around for more than an hour after the service was over. There were breakout rooms filled with people connecting with each other. We were creating safer spaces by caring for each other out loud in public. Hopefully we can remember that we want to be together the next time we disagree. And there are two tools we can use to help. Peter mentioned the first one, which is expect that everyone has the best of intentions. This is hard to do when we believe someone is wrong, but if we go back to the extraordinary respect we're using to help us build safer spaces, it is possible. We all have the best of intentions. We can let that be our first thought. Then if we think that someone is just wrong and needs to be corrected, we can employ the second really useful tool and ask a question. We can assume best intentions and prove it to ourselves by asking questions. In Buddhism, they call it beginner's mind.
Wayne, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt here. But since you ask for questions, I have a question about that Van Jones video. He says it's a terrible idea to need to be safe ideologically and emotionally. But if neighborhood isn't a safe space emotionally, I don't see how we're honoring the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We are a spiritual community, not an undergraduate debating society. So I have a question for you, because I believe you have the best of intentions and we have built up respect with each other. I'll ask it now. How can you encourage spiritual growth if people don't feel emotionally safe?
Just so no one thinks that Peter should be turned off or anything, Peter and I set this question up. Can you see how he's connecting with me and then asking a question? They're two skills that are very easy to use. So let me answer, Peter. I played that Van Jones clip because I believe we come to spiritual community in order to become bigger and wiser people. We can be safe at the movies. Stretching ourselves, questioning our habits, and certainly letting go some of our concepts are not easy. And we need the help of each other to do it. The Muslim Jalaluddin Rumi talks about being ravaged by love in order to experience ecstasy. Ravaged. The Christian mystic St. John of the Cross talks about enduring the dark night of the soul so you can live beyond depression. The dark night. The agnostic mystic Mary Oliver talks about letting go of what you know and feel so you can experience emotions and knowledge that change you, transform you. Robert Bly has this lovely poem where he tells us it's not our job to remain whole once we get there. It's time to lose our leaves like the trees and be born again. I played that clip to remind us to take the risk of being together in order to become the people we hope to become. What do you think?
I think we're getting there. Growth is always unsafe. That's the nature of growth. But just as I'm learning to walk safely with help from my crutches, I can grow safely with emotional support from my community. So if we can be safe with each other, we can wrestle with ideas that are emotionally unsafe. I'm more able to explore my own white fragility when I don't feel I'm going to be emotionally shamed for it. Does that make sense to you?
It does. And then as long as we keep going back to the idea of best intentions, not being agreed with, and asking questions, I think we can do well, making safer spaces. We can't create a safe space here at Neighborhood, nor do I believe we would want to. We can create safer spaces by being mindful that we're not always right, knowing that everyone is trying with the best of intentions, and that we can ask questions to further any conversation. This will help us create safer spaces, connect with each other, and realize uncommon insights, feelings, and ideas, which is why I think we come. Then we can use the safe enough space to work with ideas that challenge the culture, open our hearts to new people and ideas, and implement change we hope to see in the world. Thank you for listening.
In these times, as we work to safely come emotionally closer, let's not forget that neighborhood itself is a living entity. And like all living entities, it must have nurture and sustenance. If you contribute by pre-authorized withdrawals, we are grateful to you. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it. Last week, we were actually able to have a physical basket, but this week, we are back to asking you to consider writing a check or making an e-transfer, which is the most cost-effective way to give. A link has just appeared in your chat window, and all you need to do is click on it, and it will take you to our donation page. We will now pause, and Suzanne will play one of my favorite songs by Holly Near.
Just the chorus today, Peter. I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change, for I am open and I am willing, seems so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change, 'cause I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. So lift me up to the light of change. So lift me up to the light of change.
Well, it might be only the chorus, but I got 3 choruses, so that's still something. And now Suzanne will have a final video for us. Please join the choir in singing "May Nothing Evil Cross This Door."
And 2 and 3 and 4, may nothing evil cross this door, and may your fortune never cry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This heart, though all the world grows chill, will keep you warm. We shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner glooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in.
Though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong enough to keep hate out and hold love in. Now sing with our choir as we extinguish our chalice.
Although our chalice has been darkened, we hold the fire within our own hearts.
Final blessing today. I wonder if you can imagine the blessing to come from outside you and inside you, that you are blessed to grow into the people that you want to become, the person you've always hoped to become, the blessing from inside you and outside you. For those of you who don't wish to join a breakout room, thank you for joining us. Everyone who remains here will be asked to join a breakout room. Today's question to be considered in the breakout room is, how can you continue a conversation when someone disagrees with you? If you are new to neighborhood, just stay in the meeting by saying later to the request to join a breakout room, and one of us will be there to talk with you and respond to questions you may have. We have a tradition here of circling around and holding each other's hands, but that's not possible. Instead, go to the gallery view and unmute yourself and say namaste, which means I salute the spirit within you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thanks for
Namaste,
coming,
everyone.
everybody.
Namaste.
Shalom.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.